Hey class, how you doing? My name's Tony Monsivais, doing the final speech for speech class, and this speech is to inform my audience on adolescent misbehavior that can come back and haunt us later on in the future. And it goes something like this. What I want to share with you guys is that adolescent behavior that we do when we're young in our 13, 14, 15 years old, 16 years old, that we don't think of, that becomes a misdemeanor, and then it gets in our records, um, and it comes back to haunt us later on after we grow up, we have a job, we have our families, and then we try to advance ourselves in a career that requires a background check. That's the key, background check. The background check comes back, and you got a rap in there, and it's something dumb, something simple, but nonetheless, it's something that's gonna be a negative on your side. So I always hear the little term that they say, once a felon, always a felon. And I'm talking about irrevocable consequences of juvenile convictions that might come back and haunt us, like I was saying. And again, the purpose is to inform the audience of simple errors of adolescent behavior that has long-lasting consequences. So, can irrevocable mistakes lead to irrevocable consequences? I believe so. And the reason I say this again is because I've heard it from friends and family, and that's why I just kind of wanted to share and touch on this subject to put some information out there. Mischief behavior that you wouldn't think that would come back to hurt you. Driving without a suspended license or with no license, shoplifting. I'm talking small stuff, not you know. I'm talking maybe you got caught stealing an eraser, pencils, stuff like that when you're young. Throwing a snowball at somebody and a policeman happens to be there, you get caught, you can get in trouble for that. Believe it or not, there are a lot of laws in different states that are dumb, that are silly, and you would think they would not exist, but they do. At the end of my assignment, there are some links that you're welcome to find out and maybe get a laugh out of, because you're going to say to yourself, there's no way that these laws are still in effect. Well, let me tell you a little bit of research on this. I was laughing to myself, and I just couldn't believe it. So that's why I'm trying to inform the audience. Some laws that might seem ridiculous but still enforced are some like Minnesota has is illegal to cross the state lines with a duck in your head. I don't know who would do that or why, but it's a law. It's in effect. Maryland, it's illegal to take a lion to the movies. Who in the hell is going to do that unless you're that Vegas guys, Roy and Boy or whatever his name is. Oklahoma, it's illegal to take a bite out of someone else's burger. Jersey, it's illegal to wear a bulletproof vest while committing a murder. As you can see, I still laugh about this. Florida, if you tie an elephant to a parking meter, you have to pay the meter, unless you're in a circus and you say, hey, I'm going to park this elephant here for a minute while you go get a burger or something. And Massachusetts, snoring is prohibited unless windows are all shut and secured. What do you think about that one? My favorite is Alabama. It's illegal to play domino on a Sunday. Imagine that. Whoever would have thought that, huh? I would have never thought about that. So moving on, the background. Reality is it could happen to anybody. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or a friend of a friend, or a family member of a family member. It just, I've heard the stories, and I kind of get that feeling about the system where I feel like it could work for you and it can work against you. It's the way the system works. We always hear about the system, and I believe it. I mean, if there's crazy laws like that, who's to say the system needs to be updated? How many times have you forgot to make a payment and you got stuff underneath your cart, your shopping cart, and you forget, you get pulled over, you get greeted by the store's security or whatever, and maybe I guess when you're young, they're not going to believe you that you have the intentions of paying for that. Maybe now that you're older, but not when you're young. Right away, they're going to want to, slap you and scare you and stuff. And if that becomes a misdemeanor, it goes in your record. Um, and then later on, like I said, it comes back to haunt you because you're trying to apply for a job that requires a background check. And if that pops up, it's a good chance you're not going to get that job just because of that, you know, dumb incident. And you're going to say to yourself, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. So moving on, what we don't know, like I said, every state the laws are unique and they're different. Rhode Island, the value of an item determines whether you are a felon or an offender. Um, if the value is higher than $500, it automatically considered a felony. And there's two types of crimes. There's the felonies and misdemeanors. And I'm not talking. I understand felonies. You know, one thing leads to another, and I'm not touching on felonies because I feel that's a bigger picture, and obviously it carries a lot more than just a misdemeanor. What I'm trying to say is just the small stuff that we do when we're growing up, when we're young, and our parents are just screaming at you not to do this and not to do that, but you're hanging around with the crowd, and maybe it's peer pressure, whatever it is that possessed you to do that silly thing that you get caught, that's going to go in your records and it's going to affect you somehow later on in life, uh, in your career. That's really what I'm trying to get at. Like I said, I really want to share that because just recently I had a friend of mine, his son looking hard for a job, and the guy did some mistakes when he was young. Obviously, the background came back with some blotches on it, and the guy now has a family and whatnot, and trying to do things better. Well, he couldn't get the job because of that, and that's really why I want to touch base on this. Uh, a misdemeanor might sound like a slap in the hand, but I just touched on that on what could happen if if it goes in your record, and even though it could get expunged and sealed, the whole idea behind a misdemeanor is not to go in your record. Because once it goes in your record, it's going to be there forever. Talking about the system, I mentioned that earlier. The system, how it could work for you or against you, and even though there's juvenile programs and there's these programs for felons and stuff like that to help them out, to educate them and make them responsible individuals to contribute back to society. And I know that in the back of our minds, an employer is going to have that doubt, and you're not going to get hired. So what do? I mean, you educated yourself, you tried to prove that you want to do better, but now you have that misdemeanor, that felony, that turned into a felony, and it haunts you. So I know a lot of people. Also read some, from reading people's blogs or whatever, and they give up. They get frustrated. They give up. So you can't really blame them. I mean, because they did some silly things when we were growing up, and they tried to, like I said, organize and have these establishments to educate the individuals, to introduce them back into society, to be the responsible guy, But it's still going to affect you. It's going to come back on the background check, and depending whether you're applying for a police officer now or military, even McDonald's, I guess, you get that background check, comes out, you got some watches, there goes your chances. Now you're beating yourself up in the head. Why did I do this? Um, to summarize this, it is best to familiarize yourself with local laws. Every state has a different law. So if you have teenagers now in your life, You might want to inform yourself of what kind of crazy, dumb laws that state has, because trust me, the teenagers, we did it, they're going to do it. And if they get in trouble, you want to make sure that that misdemeanor does not go in their record, because it will haunt them for the rest of their lives. So before traveling, inform yourself about any pertinent laws that might cause an issue. Um, and it has been proven that decisions that we had taken in the past come back to hurt us. So just inform yourself, whatever state you're in. Google it. There's a plethora of information out there now that you can find anything on Google, just about, and familiarize yourself with the laws so that you can be better prepared in case your teenager does what we did. So hey, I hope you enjoyed my speech. Hope you'll have a good evening. Thank you.